Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to the Sheena Metal Experience with your host, Sheena Metal, right here on LA Talk Radio.
It's the Sheena Metal Experience right here on LA Talk Radio. For more info on the show, latalkradio.com, SheenaMetalExperience.com. Don't forget to email me and let me know what you think of the show. It's that time again, folks. It's time for Saddle Up LA, the wonderful benefit that happens every year, supporting Life Group LA, which is a wonderful support network and fantastic bundle of positivity for people living with HIV and AIDS. And the founder of Life Group LA is back. My wonderful friend Sunnie Rose is here. So great to have you. And she brought one of her wonderful Saddle Up and Life Group LA cohorts, the amazing Claes, Lilja. Welcome, everybody. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you, my friend, and welcome to the show. Claes, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's really exciting to be here.
It's fantastic to have you here. Mics go straight up. Think of them as and then talking to the side. Just pull it towards you. Here we go. There we go. Look at that.
It's been a long time since I had something this big, this close to my mouth.
Oh. What's the story with that?
Not quite sure.
You need more of that in your life.
You know, don't we all?
Yeah, yes. We need more big upright things that close to our mouth. Claes?
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
More of it.
So, what is new this year for Saddle Up LA, Sunnie? And I'm so excited to have you in the studio. How did this happen? I know you live a million miles away.
Well, when Mike reached out to me and said that you were interested in having me, I couldn't wait to get down the hill. I always love visiting with you.
I love to have you here. How far away are you?
About an hour and a half, the top of the Grapevine.
That's not so bad.
No, not at all.
But you do a lot of things down here with Life Group. So
I do. Life Group is actually based in West Hollywood, so I do come down a couple days a week. And we meet with clients, we meet with supporters, we meet with others that contribute to our organization in many wonderful ways. And so the drive down is a breeze.
It's nice. And then otherwise you're at home with your horses.
Yes.
And how fun is that?
That's a lot of work, but it's fun.
I get to work. Is it a lot of work?
It is a lot of work.
To be with the horses?
Well, it's pleasure, but it is...
How many hours a day do you have to spend just to keep them healthy and happy?
Well, not as many as I should. Because I'm working from home now, most of my time is sitting at the desk, and I wave at them from the window, but they get turned out. They're horses. They love nature and being free and not having to work. Only at feeding time. Really? They say hello, yeah.
They don't want to hang out with you?
Well, I have a couple that are very personable and like to hang out. The others would rather, be grazing off and on the far...
How many do you have?
I have 6.
Oh, wow.
3 of them are very, very geriatric, and they were rescues, and they're just living out their lives out there on the property.
Isn't that beautiful?
I love them.
I love that. So they're the ones that are just kind of like,
yeah.
Just do your thing, and I'm going to sit out here and eat some grass and just be old.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I knew some old humans like that. It's kind of how it is.
Me too.
Claes, what about you? Where are you from? I hear your beautiful accent.
I'm originally from Sweden, but I've lived in the U.S. now for more years than I lived in Sweden, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Here in Culver City. And
what brought you here?
An airplane.
Oh, Claes.
No, sorry.
Wah, wah, wah.
I don't have a good answer for that question. There are so many different layers to it, what it really was. But I think ultimately it was fulfilling my destiny.
I love that.
To be here and do what I'm doing.
Now, did you have a reason to come, or did you just sort of one day get a feeling this was where you belonged?
I had a feeling that I wanted to get away from where I was.
Okay.
And I got on a plane, landed in New York, and I'd been going to business school before that, and I just realized I wanted to be an actor and work in the arts.
Beautiful.
I switched gears and went into acting, which got me into personal growth and spiritual development, and on that path I just kept growing and developing in both the artistic and the spiritual arena.
I love that. And then what led you to Los Angeles from New York?
Well, acting originally.
Okay.
I had the big dreams, making it in Hollywood.
Sure, yeah.
Then after a couple of years, I realized it was more fun working behind the camera And ultimately, I've come to the conclusion that working directly with people and helping them develop and grow is what satisfies me more than anything else.
It's wonderful. And how did you get hooked up with Life Group LA?
I met Sunnie at a social event, and you know what it's like when you meet Sunnie. You fall in love.
That's it. You're hooked. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Me too. I would do anything.
Yes.
I would follow behind her and scoop up her poop.
Well, she doesn't poop on the street,
That's
actually.
good. She is part horse, so I just but I would do that if that was a job.
Aww.
Yeah, I get it. There's something like very infectious about the good that you're doing, Sunnie, all the
Thank
time.
you.
And we love that, and we just want to be a part of that. So what are you doing for Life Group LA, and what are you doing for Saddle Up?
For Life Group LA, I am a presenter at the Past Life Weekend. I'm also an emotional support group facilitator.
Wow, that's great.
And I participate in whatever way I can, whatever is needed. If I'm available, I'm there. With Saddle Up, I'm only a fundraiser this year. I'm actually not going to ride because I'm out of town. I'm going to the East Coast where I'm leading a retreat for HIV-positive people myself.
Oh.
So
That's wonderful.
Yeah, unfortunately the dates clash, but I'm trying to raise as much money as I can because, as you know, it's tough times for people working in this field right now.
Yeah, for everybody
Yeah.
in the charity world and everybody trying to raise money.
Yeah.
It's a hard time in our country and in our world. Do you find working with HIV and AIDS groups, is that part of your spiritual work?
It is. It's something that I feel called to. A lot of people living with HIV have had that confrontation with their own mortality,
Well,
which
absolutely.
opens them up to something a little bit more than ordinary reality. And so that's where I can then come in and meet them and help guide them towards the development in that way and help open up the possibilities in their lives.
I agree. I think that's beautiful. I had a scare this year with my heart, and I had always thought, I'm going to live forever. I'm tough. And then, my mom last year just suddenly developed this thing with her heart, and within not even a year, she was dead. And then out of the blue, in December, I developed the same thing with my heart. So for the first time in my life, I thought, am I not going to live that much longer? And I'd never had that thought before. And thankfully, that doesn't appear to be the case, but boy, does that make you think about what and who you really want in your life and what you don't. Because now anything that is not good for my heart, figuratively and literally, has got to go. And that whether it's food or people or stress or, sometimes I think these things happen to us as for spiritual growth. Yeah. And there's something about confronting your own mortality that makes you realize what kind of life you really want to live.
Yes, and it can be really hard to do.
It is.
And a lot of people, particularly those who are diagnosed with AIDS or with HIV these days, it's not written about in the newspapers anymore. Even though the information is out there, a lot of people don't really access it and don't really know how to handle it. And they get very confused. And so that the work that the Life Group LA is doing is really more important than in a very long time, I think.
I agree. Yeah, and I also think that life has become very, especially in this country, and I only say that because I don't live in other countries and I don't have family in other countries, so I just use the example of where I lived. We've become very rushed, very overtaxed, very stressed out. We've forgotten a lot of our humanity. We're more concerned with being right than being kind. And in times like that, when the world is like that, and different societies cycle in and out of that throughout the history of mankind, it's harder to be sick, to be vulnerable, to have something you're dealing with, because there are not a lot of people that want to stop and talk about it. It's like, gee, I'd love to talk to you about the fact you're scared that you have AIDS, but I have to do some Facebooking. And we kind of live in this time where it's all about, oh, that's wonderful that you're sick. Now I have to get to my next 50 things today. So I would imagine it's harder. I know with my heart, people just plain walked away when I was sick. People that I thought were some of my dearest friends. I couldn't go to parties and I couldn't do all the fancy things I normally do. And I was at home, with a blanket over me working on my peace movement that I started last year. And people were like, isn't that great? And I'm not going to talk to you for 6 months. And it really made me think when I came back around. And in the middle of it all, my very best friend, first I lost my mom, then my best friend, who's my other family, got cancer. And I saw a lot of her lifelong friends move away from her. And I thought, at some point you have to say, there is a level of kindness that I want in my life And I don't want anybody in my life if they don't have that. So I would imagine for people who maybe think like they've got a great life and fun friends, and then one day they realize they have HIV and suddenly everybody goes whoop, right out of their lives.
Or they go into denial about it themselves and pretend it's not there. It's very common. We encounter that all the time. And then some people, they've lived with HIV for decades, and then they come to a Pause Life weekend and they start wondering, why didn't I do this before? Why couldn't I open up to this? Because the possibilities that are out there and the resources are so amazing. And there is so much expertise, so much love, so much kindness, so much care that goes into this work that we do. And really hoping that more and more people will be able to take advantage of it.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. How are you feeling about it all today? You've been involved in the HIV and AIDS world, Sunnie, for so long.
Yeah, how am I feeling about the disease today?
How are you feeling about, how people think about the disease?
Well, I think that there's a lot of complacency now, and Claes had actually said it, it's not on the news anymore. People aren't seeing the headlines that say 1,000 people died today. And the reality is that 1,000 people do die a day still. And
wow, 1,000 people die every day?
I mean, across the world,
but
with
still,
regard.
Wow. Yeah.
And I still, as an organization, we still are losing people that are close to us, our volunteers, clients. We're losing people every month.
So sad.
And this last month, I got a call from a parent who was referred to us by her son, who had come to one of our seminars and was empowered enough with information and having connected with another mother who had been at the seminar to finally, after 10 years of being positive, disclose to his mother.
Wow.
And wow, that was a very fascinating 2.5-hour conversation, because she didn't believe her son when he told her, "I'm not going to die, Mom, I'm going to be okay." She didn't believe him. She had to hear it from somebody else. And I can't make those promises, but I definitely gave her enough information that she felt comfortable enough to trust him and trust that he was accessing all the care that he needed, and kind of gave her a few tips on how to best communicate and dialogue with her son, so that, as she put it, he thinks I'm telling him what to do. And just, there's a way to communicate about that in which somebody will take the information openly, as opposed to, hesitantly.
I think that's actually one of the greatest things about the Pause Life weekend that people don't realize, is that they learn communication skills on a whole other level, because they learn how to be vulnerable and intimate and open and real with each other, and also respectful, and they learn how to listen and hear what others are saying. So they make really authentic connections with other people, which is really hard to do in the ordinary life.
Exactly. And with regard to the state of the disease now, it is definitely on the manageable list for most. Not for everyone, but for most. It's definitely, there's prevention now. With PrEP, I call it birth control for HIV, basically.
Now, are you a fan of that?
I'm a fan of anything that is preventing people from getting HIV.
But are you a fan of people going on PrEP instead of using condoms or getting tested?
PrEP is supposed to be used in conjunction with condoms.
Right. Well, supposed to be.
So personally, I would want everybody to take every measure to protect themselves from everything and anything. But we're human. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody, even with information and knowledge, they make their own informed choices. So I cannot judge what people do. All I know is that if you're taking PrEP, you should protect yourself, because there are other things that you can
I agree.
get.
I'm not a fan of, I know a lot of people complain about it, and why do I have to wear a condom? But I always sort of gently try to remind my friends that are HIV positive that you could be dead. Is wearing a condom that much of an effort when you think about the fact that you could be dead. I'm a diabetic, so I quit sugar. So I don't sit around every day saying, why can't I have a cupcake? I'm just so thankful my eyesight came back.
Right.
But I think a lot of times people think about, well, I'm so inconvenienced. And as soon as PrEP comes around, then suddenly it's woohoo.
Right.
Well, also, the statistics are really showing that PrEP is working. Because
it's great.
Infection rates have gone way down. So I think now looking at that, I think it's a great thing. And then how people use it, I think it's really hard to judge. I think giving information, allowing people to know what the facts are and what the risks are that are involved with sex is great. But sex is such a strong animal force in the human, and in the throes of passion, reason does not always operate.
Yeah.
And the other thing with regard to PrEP is it's a huge success. It's a huge tool. Having said that, access is still limited. Getting it for the communities, people of color, is very challenging. And I think we're still a long way from getting to zero. I can't wait for the day that I can look for another job doing something else because there's a cure. Right. But I still think we're a long way from it because, as Claes had said, we're humans, and there's you have the ability to choose whatever you want whenever you want. You may regret it later, and not have a reason necessarily to regret it, but I just think that it's a tool, and not everybody uses every tool available to them. Yeah,
I agree, and you should use every tool available to you. But it's good infection rates are going down, right? I mean, that's absolutely fantastic news.
In some communities, they absolutely are, and part of that is that people who are positive are getting to a place of being undetectable, where the amount of virus is so small that it's less likely that they will transmit the disease. And if your partner is negative and on PrEP, that's even better.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So what about participation? You were talking about complacency. I had my friend David Galligan has directed the stage benefit every year, and this is their last year. Mm-hmm. And basically they stopped doing it because he said they just can't keep people excited about this cause, that it was, there's sort of a cause of the year or the decade, whatever, and then that cause becomes, people become complacent to that, and they're on to the next thing that everyone's talking about.
That's too bad.
And so have you noticed it's become harder and harder to raise the money every year? Because is this your 18th?
This is our 12th year.
Okay.
The organization will just be 13 years old in July. I can't believe it. Time flies. It's crazy. But yes, this year it's been a challenge. I think across the board for all the aid service organizations, fundraising has been a challenge because, like I said, people don't see it as a pandemic anymore as it was. And I think that there's a lot more attention given to a disease that, one, people don't know how you get it, two, how you treat it. There's fear. And when there's a lot of fear, like at the beginning of the pandemic, people were like donating money like crazy for research and for a cure and for medications. And now we're at a point where there's lots of different medications for people who are HIV positive, and people are living long, healthy lives, some even longer than people that aren't positive, because they're
taking better care of themselves.
Well, they go to the doctor all the time, to have their blood tests and have all their labs done. If something is off, whether it's HIV related or not, they're treated immediately.
Right, and they're also controlling their diet. They're taking care of themselves as far as sleep and stress.
Yes.
And I also think that there is generally a bit of an HIV fatigue that a lot of people would kind of like to not have to think about it anymore, because it was so emotionally draining for so many years for so many people that now, if they can not have to think about it at all, it's something that's probably preferable for them. So to kind of just not even see it seems to be a strategy that a lot of people apply. And also for a lot of the younger people who've never lived in a world where HIV was never around, they just don't see it the same way. They don't have the same relationship to it. they probably relate to it more the way we relate to cancer, and it's unfortunate if you get it, but you get treatment, you do what you can, and they don't see how devastating it still can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think we'll find a cure in our lifetime?
I don't know. We still haven't found a cure for a cold or a flu, and it's the virus
or
too.
cancer.
Exactly. I don't want to say no. I certainly hope so. I think there are a lot of people deeply invested in finding a cure. I think there are people deeply invested who are also invested in us not finding a cure. But
I'm sure, with all diseases.
Yes.
I hate to say that, but I agree.
Yeah, I hesitated when I said that, but it is true. I hope so. I hope that at least we get closer to zero new infection. I find that it's scientifically proven that part of getting to zero is that we're all part of the strategy, whether you're HIV positive or HIV negative. Whatever choices you make, whatever you do in your life, it will help minimize the amount of
absolutely,
infection
because
out
I
there.
mean, eventually, if everyone stops infecting everyone, and everyone who's infected dies of old age, the disease will be dead.
I think the disease can be eradicated. Polio was, and I think a similar
smallpox, pretty much.
Yeah, and a similar strategy, and that's really, I think, most important, making sure that those who are HIV positive stay on their meds, or at least enough of a portion of them do, and then those who are negative, that they take whatever precautions they can to stay negative. And I think we'll have a good chance of seeing a brighter future. It's going to take time, though. It's not happening overnight. And in the meantime, we need for people to care more and actually put some resources towards caring for people with HIV and helping educate people and helping them have the support they need to take care of themselves, because knowing that you have something doesn't necessarily cause you to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of people, for example, and especially people with low self-esteem or people who have fears or they sense the stigma around HIV, they hesitate to go and seek out the care that they need. So that's why the work that Sunnie does and the Life Group LA does is really so crucial at this point. And so we're really hoping that more people get engaged in it, both participating and learning about it, and coming to things like Saddle Up.
There's a lot of it with, I think, any disease that you develop. I mean, I've been a diabetic for 6 years, and I know so many people that just think, whatever. I think if I just keep taking medication, I'll be fine. And they just keep taking more and more meds, or they just live in denial. I remember saying to my mom once, because she was a type 2 diabetic, that I couldn't believe that I had been diagnosed at 44, and she hadn't been diagnosed until she was 51. And she said, well, they tried to tell me when I was 40, but I just pretended it wasn't happening. So I think there's a lot of that with a lot of things, right? People ignore their high blood pressure. They ignore, again, people say, I don't have time for this. I can't deal with this. I don't want to be this. So they just pretend it's not happening. And people don't want to correct their lifestyle. People don't want to have to make changes to their lifestyle. I mean, it's not fun. Nobody wants to make changes to their lifestyle. All for the 70s to come back, when we could just do as much blow and sleep with as many people and have as much fun and drink as much as we wanted and just not even think about it. Go to a key party and not think about it. But we don't have, eat horrible. God only knows what was in the food we ate then. But, now we've learned if you want to stay healthy, you have to live a different way. And I just think a lot of people don't want to be bothered to do that. And more so if you develop something or you contract something where it necessitates you living a healthy life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important that people find the emotional support to take the steps necessary to start taking care of themselves. Because if they're not getting that, they're not going to really have the same incentive to do it, because they're not going to want to take care of themselves if they don't feel like they matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's hard.
A lot of the presentations that we offer at the weekend seminar help to achieve just what Claes was saying. We've got the more didactic. We have drug treatment options, understanding your lab reports, adherence, those kind of things. But we also have the more complementary We do meditation, we do yoga, we do art therapy, music therapy. All of these things help inspire and empower people to make those informed choices. But also part of the triangle of education, emotional support is also community building. A lot of people that come to the workshop, some have maybe never disclosed their status to anyone, and or one or two people, and now they come to a seminar where they are meeting 30 to 60 new people that all have the same concerns, but now they have a network of people whom they can reach out to after the workshop, because we really encourage people to exchange phone numbers and stay connected and to be of support of one another, that later will reach out to us and flourish. Hey,
That's
what
wonderful.
you guys did changed my life. I am back at school. I'm getting my master's in psychology. I want to give back. We've got
That's
4 or
wonderful.
5 volunteers who have kind of done that whole
And what's so
process.
amazing also with the weekends is that people come from all areas of society, all educational backgrounds, all ethnic groups, all ages. There's some, we have people who are in the medical field, lawyers coming as clients as well, and other people who are struggling with just how to live life. And something really magical happens in these weekends where they form these bonds. It doesn't matter what your background is, because you're really connecting from that common humanity that
It's
we all
beautiful.
share.
And the Pause Life Weekend seminars, there's just no demographic boundary. And it's one of the only programs in not just Los Angeles, but in the country that has no demographic boundary.
That's wonderful.
Men, women, gay, straight, positive, negative, every cultural and religious background, every age group. Every gender. Newly diagnosed or long-term survivors. I mean, you have people walking into the room thinking they're going to die tomorrow, and then they see this massive hunk of a dude across the room who discloses he's been positive 30 years, and he's immediately lifted some of his own burden, knowing that, wow, that could be me in 30 years. So,
Wow, do people still get diagnosed and think they're going to die?
yes, I
That's
get those
sad.
calls. Those are from the people.
Mostly
who-
young people?
Yes, yeah, I would say so. More so the young people, and that's because kids, and we were all there. I'm one of them.
Right.
We feel we're invincible, and it's like, I don't need to know anything about that because that's just not going to happen to me. And all of a sudden it has, and they meet somebody, or somebody says, you need to call Sunnie, or you need to call the life group. They've got this great Pause Life Weekend seminar, and they'll call me. And they'll point blank say, how long am I going to live? And I'll just say, baby, don't max out your credit cards. You're going to be here a long time to pay them off.
Yeah.
And so immediately they're like, I'm going to be okay. I'm like, have you been to the doctor? Just go through the steps with them.
Yeah.
Yes, so that they don't know because they've shut it out, we've been talking about before, in denial about any of that danger could happen to us. Even walking in the streets at night, people are a little bit, wanting to not address it as being a danger in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. What about older folks? Are older people, not older like, 80, but I mean,
Like
are
us?
middle, are old folks like us, are people in the middle of their life still contracting it?
Oh, thanks to Viagra, yes.
Yeah, it happens a lot still.
Wow. I would think that people of our generation would be more wary because we had it happen when we were teenagers, so we know all about it.
But I think it's that AIDS fatigue that it's gotten to a point where people don't want to care about it anymore. They don't want to feel it. They don't want to think about it, and they're just going to go, I've been fine this far. I'm sure I'm going to be fine again. And then one time it happens, and your zero convert.
Wow. You get relaxed one time, and then wow. It's wow. So what's going to happen this year at Saddle Up, Sunnie?
Well, we have some surprises that aren't completely confirmed yet, so I can't disclose them, but we are going to have an amazing ride through Griffith Park Mountains. Saddle Up LA is our version of the AIDS bike ride or the AIDS walk, but we do it on horses. And it's a 2.5-hour ride in Glendale, up in the beautiful mountains with picturesque views. We actually have 2 rides that we're going to offer this year. One is a mountaintop ride The other is a poker ride, which also offers some really great, magnificent views. But along the trail, you'll be dealt cards. And after the ride, which is 2.5 hours, each ride is 2.5 hours, we'll go down the street to the Pickwick Gardens, and we have a great barbecue. As you know,
it's
you've been
the
to
best.
that.
What, been 2 or 3 years?
Amazing.
4 years?
Yes.
How many years have I been to? As long as you've been coming here.
Yeah,
the
maybe
food is
4 years.
fantastic. It's barbecue. It's usually chicken and some kind of brisket.
Tri-tip, yes.
Oh, tri-tip. Is that a kind of brisket?
Probably.
Okay, I don't know. It's delicious. And then there's always like potatoes, and there's usually vegetables, and there's bread, and it's amazing. And then there's a bunch of desserts, and you just want to love it.
Yep, it's great.
And we lots of hot guys.
Lots of hot
guys. Lots of hot
and
cowboys.
Girls.
Yeah.
And wonderful silent auction with some amazing donated gifts.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And we do an awards ceremony for all the top fundraisers. We give awards to the top 6 individuals and the top 6 teams. The first, second, third, and rookie of the year gets this beautiful silver custom buckle.
Ooh.
And it's very nice. And it's just a hokey, fun time with great food. The Pickwick Gardens is air conditioned. It's beautiful. It's comfortable. It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
And so, we go on this dusty trail ride and get to come back to a nice air conditioned place where we can relax and eat and laugh about the day's adventures.
And do you ride every year?
I do. I ride every year. And actually, Pepper Mache is also going to be with us again.
Pepper, is she riding?
Yes, she has ridden with us the last, I want to say, 6 or 7 years.
I always wind up sitting at her table. I love her.
Yes, she's amazing. She's a lot of fun, and so
she's been here, and she's darling. Is she going to perform again?
She may.
Oh, is that one of the surprises that you can't talk about? Okay.
No, it isn't. But if I asked her, I'm sure she would. She loves she loves to perform for.
And last year you
us.
had some of Chico's Angels, and they were great.
Hopefully they'll be here again.
Yeah.
We're
Cheetah
working
and
on
Frida.
that. Yes,
they were
so
wonderful,
funny.
and aren't they fantastic? Yeah. I went through the food line with them. They were like, "Oh, hey, Sheena," and I'm like, "Hi, you guys, girls, everybody."
Yes, they are wonderful. They're very giving. They're supportive of Life Group.
That's wonderful.
Really deeply. I mean, they emceed our Drag Queen World Series game the last 2 years, and they are so funny.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I'm sorry I missed that this year. Yeah. I want to go to that. So how was that this year?
It was wet.
Oh, did it rain?
It poured before and it poured after, but
oh my goodness.
God was with us, and the universe was with us. It did not rain one drop during the game.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It was wonderful. Everybody.
But were people sliding around in the wet grass?
No, they were careful. And the field was really great. They came and they put extra sand along the diamond where we run so that nobody would get hurt or slip or slide. But it was a lot of fun. Everybody was in such good spirits and just dealt with what it was that, was happening. It was fun.
I love really that. That's fantastic. And those are your 2 major events you do every year.
Yes.
So then you don't do anything as far as a fundraising event from July until the spring?
We do, Drag Queen World Series is in the spring. Then we do Saddle Up LA.
In the summer?
In the summer. And in the fall, we're a community coalition team for AIDS Walk.
Oh, beautiful.
So those are pretty much our 3 events. And during the year, we'll do a bingo, or we'll do some kind of a raffle or drawing. And a couple of years in a row, we had the Project Nunway, which was an amazing event.
With the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence?
Gosh, they're so good to us.
I love them so much.
Me too. And also I
met them because of you. They came on with you, and that's how I met them. And
Yay.
I learned so much, including that they're actually model themselves after an order of nuns. I mean, they follow the code.
Yes, and they are giving, they are fun, they are loving, they are creative, and they are very, very generous to us, with us.
Yeah, they're wonderful. But they've always been helpers. I mean, at the beginning of the AIDS crisis, they were fantastic.
Absolutely, and they're still there, and now not just with HIV, but with GLBT issues, with anything that affects our community in general. They're always very participatory and very active. Also, the Satires Motorcycle Club, which is the longest, I should say, Gary, if you're listening,
it's the oldest running motorcycle club
in the country or the world.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
The last couple of years, we've been the beneficiary, along with Being Alive LA, of their motorcycle run.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's very
how
cool.
much? I mean, how is it? Do you rely solely on donations, or are you always trying to get grants? I mean, what's it like to keep a charity this active running?
It takes a lot, and one thing that we don't do as an organization is we don't take any federal funding.
Okay.
We do take.
Is there a reason behind that?
Yes, because well, it's been so long since I've applied. However, there's names reporting. Basically, is that when you accept federal funding, you have to provide demographics to the federal government, which includes not just their demographics and whatever it is that they've provided you information-wise, but attached to their name. And that report goes into a database called CaseWatch.
Okay.
And I just, I guess being a descendant of Jews who, were on a list and...
you don't want to get on the charity rolls?
Yeah, we don't want to be on any list. But in
That's
general...
interesting. So you're weary of that.
Yeah, in general, as an organization, we don't feel like names reporting is our... is something that we should be doing. A lot of people that come to the seminar, they haven't told anybody. I would not feel comfortable asking them all the information I ask for in a registration form and not telling them I have to give this to the government.
Yeah.
So I just assume don't take the federal funding so that I can get all the demographics I need to properly produce a weekend that will address their needs and the needs of everybody else that I've registered.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful that you handle it like that.
We do take funding so happily from the city of West Hollywood. They have been supportive of the Life Group and the work before that through LA Shanti, specifically for these weekend seminars. They provide us with funding without me having to disclose demographics attached to names.
Is that part of getting federal grants? They want to know all your information and who you've got and who's got what, and they want to add you to their government cookie?
Yes, and I think that there's good and there's bad for that. I mean, I'm not going to get into politics here and now, however...
But you kind of want to.
I want to.
I can feel it happening in there.
But I think there's another aspect of this that's really important also, because so much of the work that we do is around community building, and the fundraising itself actually becomes a part of that community building among all the volunteers and the people who come. A lot of people come and sign up for Saddle Up LA, and they raise money, and they just become part of the community for that event without necessarily being clients or going to any of the weekends or volunteering at other times of the year. And so that activity of the fundraising that we do, I think, also serves to help people feel more connected with each other, come together for something that feels meaningful, and it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So then
yes, these small events are what fund our organization. We are more than 90% funded by individual donations.
Wow.
People like you and me and Mike.
That is beautiful.
And $5 at a time, it makes the work happen.
It's grassroots and it's beautiful.
Now more than ever, we are facing a huge challenge. Size-wise, we're probably the smallest organization, but we have one of the most impactful programs in the country. What's happening now with all the budget cuts and the proposed cuts, a lot of these organizations out there are funded maybe 60, 70, 80% by these federal grants that are going to be cut, and maybe some not just cut down but cut out completely. So a lot of the organizations are preemptively creating fundraisers and friends asking friends, pledge drives, and reaching out for individual contributions. Not that they haven't before, because they totally have, but now more than ever in preparation for what are we going to do if our funding is cut.
Yeah.
So they haven't lost all their money yet, or they haven't lost all their money, but grants are getting more and more competitive as foundation and family foundation grants are getting more and more competitive as a result of that. So Do I write grants? Yes, I try and I cry, and
it's overwhelming.
It's like, okay, so we're spending an hour now talking about the Life Group LA, the Pause Life Weekend seminars, the Saddle Up LA. How do I put that in 100 words or less in a grant application?
Yeah.
It sucks. You can't.
No.
It's like I tell people all the time, just come to the seminar and then you tell me how I can explain it in 100 words or less. It's always such a challenge.
Well, and it's like being a salesman. It's hard to be a salesman about something that's where your heart lives.
Exactly.
And also what is something that people don't realize is that the program that's offered is actually of an extremely high caliber. All the volunteers have rigorous training. They're professionals in their fields. They're like top-level professionals in their fields. And everything is offered free of charge. So I don't know of any program where you get that much bang for the buck of the funding that we get and how much we're able to offer with that. It's absolutely astounding.
I think it's wonderful.
Our presenters range from Dr. Eric Dar, who's the chief of HIV medicine at Harbor UCLA and a professor of HIV medicine, Dr. Michael Gottlieb, who was the doctor who discovered HIV here in Los Angeles, Mark Katz. We've got a number of other physicians who are very, very supportive of the work that we do and donate their time to come and present at these workshops because they believe so strongly in that what we are doing in one weekend can change the momentum of somebody's getting to undetectable status. The tools we give people help them achieve the goals that they want to reach with their clients.
So beautiful.
And also the
Magical.
volunteers who are there, when you come to a weekend and you come and check in, you're greeted by a volunteer who has been trained in what they're doing, who has the capacities to be present and emotionally supportive and loving and caring. So it's not just a bunch of people coming in, I'm going to volunteer this weekend. These are actually people who have dedicated themselves to volunteering
Sure.
and trained in what they're doing.
And they're not just, yes, our facilitator training is extensive. It's many, many hours, over 50 hours of training. But in order for them to have even gotten invited to a training, they were already the model. They were already people who had a compassionate heart and a giving heart and
Right.
wanting to give back, maybe something that they experienced. But that's the combined consciousness of our team and why people walk into a room and go, damn, this is really great. I'm like floating. Everybody's so, la la land here. And it's like, when you're here, this is a safe space. This is la la land. When you leave on Monday, not everybody's going to be like this. Not everybody's going to be so kind. So don't make any big decisions.
But there are also a lot of people coming who didn't know that they had compassionate hearts until they got there.
True
and
that.
their hearts
that's beautiful.
open up and they discover their own beauty. That's really what happens for a lot of people.
That's wonderful. And now, does everybody who facilitates your workshops, are they all people living with HIV/AIDS or sometimes not?
Sometimes not.
That's wonderful.
And they can be moms, dads, brothers, sisters. They can be negative partners. They can be positive.
Isn't that
they
beautiful?
Can be negative. Yeah. There isn't a requirement other than you have an open, compassionate heart and are non-judgmental.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
And what we're doing also, I just want to talk about the logistics.
Sure.
We are based in West Hollywood, absolutely. We do. We try to do two one in West Hollywood and one in Long Beach or Pasadena, but every year we try to go out of LA twice. In California and out of state. So we'll go to Santa Barbara or Palm Springs or San Diego. We've been to places like Phoenix, Arizona. We've been to Las Vegas, Nevada. This last year we worked with the Life Foundation in Hawaii.
Wow.
We took our team to Hawaii.
That's amazing.
It was I've got chills talking about it. One of the most beautiful experiences of my life working in this field is going someplace where people were so appreciative and so grateful that we came to them and brought them what we had. And here we are thinking, oh my God, thank you for bringing us here to this beautiful place, and allowing us in your presence. But it was just this, everybody coming together was so grateful and loving. It was like, pulling us apart when it was time to leave. It was one of those that I
wonderful.
didn't want to end.
And then we really had an opportunity to really learn from each other and grow.
Wonderfully.
And, these bonds that we formed, I think everybody who was there is still in contact with people from the island that they met there.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story.
So
That's
amazing.
wonderful.
So we are open to working with other agencies across the United States who find that they don't have enough education, emotional support, or tools. We are happy to go with our team out there. We don't have the funds to do the traveling. The program we can take care of, but what we need help with is, if you want us to come to your town, we need hotels for our volunteers.
Sure.
And we all share rooms. We
Wow, it's like camp.
It's totally, and that's what it is for us. It's camp, and transportation. If we can drive there, we'll drive there, pay for our gas. But if we have to fly there, we'll work with them to raise the money, to find a grant that might provide the funds needed for that. But something special we did when we went to Hawaii is the team of us went early. We went the week before, and we did training with their volunteers and their staff, so that when we leave, they can continue to provide this in our absence in the event that we can't come up with the funding to go back again. However, we did take this year off, and I know that their wheels are already spinning on how to get us to come back again next year. Darn.
Twist your arm to go back to Hawaii.
Gosh.
But there are a lot of places around the country that I think would really benefit from this, and where we could come and really help support the organizations that are there, that are active, that are doing work, where we can infuse some of this energy and knowledge and experience that we have, and help support them in providing more efficient, rewarding, rich programs for their clients and populations that live there.
Yeah, absolutely. Go, please.
When we went to Hawaii, we brought in presenters from all over the country. And so they're used to having presentations and education by the locals, who they go out into the world to get the information. They come back and present. We brought in fresh presenters from all over the country whom these participants had not experienced yet. So it was a whole nother perspective. And in addition to, I was able to reconnect with a number of people who I knew that lived in Hawaii, who had wonderful gifts to provide them with, a drum circle or the integrative energy healing that live right there on the island, and yoga as well, so that when we leave, the clients can connect with those resources and get more of what it was they got a taste of during the weekend.
That's so beautiful. Is it amazing to you both that 35 plus years after this disease was discovered, we still have to do that? There still have to be support networks. There still have to be people to teach people how to live with it. There still are. I mean, it seems like it should just be something that should just be known.
Well, I think actually people need support networks just to live, whether you are infected with HIV or not. We actually have a lot of negative people come to the weekends as well, and they get a lot of value out of it, even though the medical information may not apply to them directly. But there are life skills that we teach that are so powerful, so transformative, and really help people enrich their lives in ways that I haven't encountered anywhere else in any other organization, where you get to connect with people on that level and learn how to live with that open heart, lovingly connected,
it's
human
beautiful.
to human.
My other question is, and I know I ask you this every time you're here, Sunnie, but I'm still blown away. Does it surprise you that this many decades later, there's still a stigma surrounding it? I mean, do you think there's just a stigma surrounding any illness anyone has, or is it specifically this one? Is it the sexually transmitted nature of it? I
think it's the taboo, the sex.
Are we still shocked? I mean, it's been, like I said, 35 plus years. I mean, are there places where people still have to hide it from their communities?
Absolutely.
That's so sad.
Absolutely. It is sad. It doesn't surprise me, but I am seeing more and more people, and mostly just the last couple of years, people who I've known from maybe high school or another part of my life, opening up to me and telling me, oh, my so-and-so friend, he just told me he's positive. And I'm always oh, and how do you feel about that? Well, I guess I'm okay. I said, well, good, you should be. You have nothing to worry about, and just be supportive, be loving. It's just another layer of who they are.
And this also, it's associated with homophobia as well, which we're still battling on a grand scale around the country. And
in the world.
In the world, yes. And AIDS is still, gay disease, even though a lot of people who contract HIV are not gay at all. But that's the stigma that's attached to it. And so I think it's a much bigger problem than one would think, unfortunately.
It's a shame. What is it like in Sweden, where you're from?
There's a lot of stigma about it there as well. Even though treatments are readily available, there's no charge for treatments. But they actually have some old laws still, where, for example, it's criminal for an HIV-positive person to have sex without condoms with somebody. I think there's some movement to changing that, and the communities there in general are smaller. It's a smaller country, so I think people are a little bit more reticent about sharing information like that if they become positive. So
it's a smaller pond.
Yeah, and it's the same in rural America. With the Brotherhood retreats that I do on the East Coast for HIV positive people, I have people contacting me from all over the country wanting to come, and basically telling me that they don't know any other person who is HIV positive, and they don't have anybody to talk to. They just feel alone and isolated and depressed.
We have one client who's come to our seminars over the last 12 years, probably 3 or 4 times, from Wyoming.
Oh, I bet that's tough there.
Yeah. Specifically, he
Montana,
says,
Wyoming, very tough.
In fact, the very first time he came, he was very sick, and he was on one of the most antiquated regimens on the books. And during the weekend, he met Dr. Dar, and spoke to him, after his presentation to tell him what he was on. And Dr. Dar was he was just blown away, and gave him his card and said, please, before you leave, come see me. I'll make a time for you. And I walked him to his car, and he said, I can't believe that he's on that medication. He says, we haven't been prescribing that medication for over 10 years. So.
Wow. Well, and I have friends that were from very small places in the Midwest when we first started hearing things about AIDS and HIV, and, somebody would get sick and they would just go stay at a family member's house, and then they would just disappear, like nobody talked about it. When you're the only person in a town, you just don't talk about it. And I think that alone, I think, is criminal. Yeah. Because I think that that the world would be a much happier place if we would stop feeling like we have to hide all of our vulnerabilities. We need to get out of that primate pact mentality of everyone's going to eat us alive if we show anybody our belly. Because it's just as we're evolving as a species and becoming more enlightened, I find that that's sort of like a hitch in the road that we've hit. That unless we can move past that, we're not going to continue to evolve. Right. Because we need to stop making everybody feel like whatever is wrong with them, whether it's physiological or mental or emotional, whatever kind of illness it is, that there's something wrong with them for having it.
That's why compassion is so important.
Absolutely.
And that's at the core of the work that we do. It's about authentic compassion. It's real compassion. It's not fake sympathy. It's not pity. It's real, heartful, open compassion. I'm here with my open heart with you. Yeah. I see you. I feel you. And that kind of security that comes from that allows them people to be more vulnerable and be more open, and to find the kind of people where they can have those connections. And so it's that network that we're continuing to try to build everywhere we can.
Well, I would imagine that both of you, when you facilitate a workshop or a weekend like that actually is healing you at the same time. Because exposing your open heart to someone's open heart as you're putting your energy out to heal them, they're giving you energy and it's healing you. You know, I have a friend who's a healer that used to say, "Give a healing, get a healing," and it's really true. So it's you know, it's keeping your hearts and souls rejuvenated at the same time. Just not being able to form that outer layer of crust because you're always having to touch people.
It's true. It's the same as when you give a hug, you get a hug.
Absolutely.
I think just one of the challenges of achieving what it is we've been talking about is that a lot of people aren't born innately knowing how to be vulnerable and open,
true.
how to be active listeners. People are too busy thinking of how they're going to respond before they, you know, are listening to you fully. So we've even had people that have come to our facilitator training and later said, "Oh my God, that training, you know, I know it's preparing me to do these emotional support groups for whatever disease state, but it saved my relationship."
Oh, I bet.
Because they learned how to properly communicate.
How to be vulnerable and have compassion.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I
how
think,
to be an active listener.
Yeah.
I think any volunteer would say that we get as much, if not more, out of the work that we do than any other clients, even though we're trying to give as much as we possibly can, everything we have. It's all there for the taking. We still get more.
How many do you do a year, do you think?
Well, I typically am at about 3 or 4 of the Past Life weekends. Sometimes it clashes with my schedule. I do a lot of other work on myself and leading workshops and retreats.
Yeah, but I mean, we're just workshops and retreats in general. How many do you think you do a year?
Both if I do as participant and a facilitator, I do probably at least 30.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And do you do any that are strictly spiritual?
Yes, I do that too.
I had that feeling.
Yeah, I knew the two of you would click.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely had that feeling. Yeah, and that's just as important, right? Because there's also a stigma in our country, and I guess I'll only speak about our country because it's the only country I've ever lived in, around people who are thinking outside the box of their own spirituality. Mm-hmm. You know, we are raised that you are born into a religion and you stay there. And people feel as guilty about exploring beyond that as they feel guilty about exploring their sexuality or, you know, talking about coping with an illness or whatever it is. It's another place where people need a lot of love and reinforcement.
Absolutely. My approach to spirituality is to really view it as getting more intimate with yourself and the truth of your experience, and to help you open up to what that is and let go of the kind of fears and emotional or mental blocks that may get in the way, and very gently allow it to unfold and discover the truth of reality that's there underneath it all.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what we want to believe, the truth is still the truth.
I like to call it spiritual salad bar. So if you and a friend go to a salad bar and you don't want to, you take what is on your plate, they take what goes on their plate, but you're not innately resentful. Like, I don't like onions, but I don't get to a salad bar and start freaking out because there are onions there. I accept that onions are something that a lot of people love. They're not my thing. I don't put them on my plate, and I keep moving. And I think if we all thought of spirituality like that we're all essentially building our own plate. And some of the things on our plate are standard things you would think of would be in a salad, and that's the sort of like the known religions. And the other things you think, wow, I wouldn't think to put that on a salad, but it works. And then your friends can be right with you, and everybody's building a different salad, but you let the entire bar exist and be there.
Yes, I think that the litmus test is really, does it open your heart and mind or not?
Yeah.
And does it allow you to be more present to your experience?
Exactly. And what unlocks you might not unlock me, or what unlocks us both might not unlock somebody else. And that's perfectly okay, because all roads lead to the same place.
Yes.
And people have a very hard time with that.
I don't know if all roads lead to the same place.
Well, all roads of light lead to the same place. Is that better?
There are many roads that lead to the same place, and there are many different ways of approaching it. And I was
being a cockeyed optimist there. I'll do that, Claes. You got to keep me in order.
I think it's important to recognize also that there are a lot of paths that seem to lead to that, but actually make people more entrenched in their egos and their materialism.
Absolutely.
And it's important to be awake to that.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people in every community, but specifically I have found in the New Age and the metaphysical communities, and in all spiritual bents, that are really, really talking the talk, and they're not walking their talk. They have learned that there are certain buzz phrases that they can drop that ingratiates them with people, but they're not really following it up with action in their life. And everybody loves flashy talk and a big crystal. But if you're not really living the intention behind that, then you might as well be selling snake oil out of the back of a wagon.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's helping people to find what works for them and not be lured into those things that appeal to your ego or those things that appeal to, and those are the same things that are making people that have an illness feel like there's something wrong with them.
Yeah. And a spiritual path is not always easy.
No.
We have to be willing to confront the difficulties in our life.
Sure.
But it's, the movement away from our suffering and the movement away from our pain that causes the pain. It's like when we confront the truth of what our experience is, it opens up all the capacities of our hearts, of our beings, of our bodies to deal with it in a way that's appropriate and that's supportive.
Yeah, and it's very similar, I think, to facing a life challenge, to suddenly realizing that there's a hitch in your life path a little bit, whether it's a spiritual one, a physiological one, an emotional one. They're all, in essence, they manifest the same way in your life. It's I don't know, it's life, right? It's just
fascinating life.
You just keep walking down that road. Now, have you found, Sunnie, that it's made you more spiritual working in the HIV/AIDS world?
I think the people that I work with have brought out more spirituality in me. I think that the gifts that my presenters and my other volunteers have brought have shown me more gratitude, and a lot of them are my spiritual guides, basically. I mean, we have a couple of presenters and a clinical consultant who I always joke about and say, oh my God, I have the best mental health team personally anybody could ask for, because I'll get caught up in the stuff and start feeling like the sky is falling, and they'll bring it back to me, and even classes a number of times said, let's switch how you say that, and immediately I'm like, oh God, that really worked. We get crazed, we get panicky. I get panicky. The organization is this or that or the other thing, and just changing my perspective because of the gifts that others are giving me help change the whole paradigm.
It's beautiful. So beautiful. You two are both beautiful. This was fun.
Yay.
One more time, where can people go and get tickets to go to Saddle Up, and where can they find the Life Group LA online, Sunnie?
Super easy. SaddleUpLA.org. SaddleUpLA.org. Sorry.
and even if you don't want to ride, you can go there and make a donation.
Yes.
And that would be really, really helpful.
Yep. And you can go to the barbecue if you don't want to ride. That's fine too. You can find Life Group LA at thelifegroupla.org. And there's a place to donate there too, and to stay abreast of all the programs that we're offering. We do a couple of things every year that are a little different. In March, we did a one-day seminar on resiliency. There was a lot of panic, and we needed to teach people and show people how they could manage their stress. We did a little bit of government and politics so that people understood that some of their fears weren't yet warranted. We gave people action plans. So we're not a political organization by any means, but we felt that our community was stressing out so badly that we knew that would affect their immune system.
Absolutely. It was craziness. It's still crazy, but it was really crazy those first couple of months.
Yeah, and now we're facing a lot of Social Security disability changes, huge, and a large number.
Medical insurance changes.
Yeah. There are a lot of people out there who are very, very fear-stricken that their medications, their doctors, everything that keeps them alive is going to be taken away from them. With regard to disability, people are already living on scraps to take away their disability. We may see a lot more homelessness in the HIV-positive community again. So we provide presentations and education to help people address those in a healthy way.
Wow, it's just beautiful that you do that, but it makes me sad and angry that
right.
that
I'm
that's
doing
a
it again. We did this, 20 years ago? Now
Well,
we're doing it again?
Well, look at where we are.
Yes.
And now I'm political. I didn't mean to be, but look.
Hey,
But
I got your back.
there is a faction of humanity that is only interested in what happens to them and not taking care of the whole. And they see everything from, like Claes said earlier, their myopic, ego-driven perspective, and not thinking about the fact that we have a responsibility on this earth to the universe to all take care of each other.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure that we don't let our country stumble backwards.
Absolutely.
So I'm fighting the good fight, and I know you are too.
We're activists. We're
absolutely.
Activists, and we just,
we're humanitarians, and we keep fighting for all people. And your cause is my cause.
Absolutely.
Claes, where can people find you online, my friend?
Well, my retreats are at brotherhoodretreats.com. And I also have pauseretreats.com, pozretreats.com. And we do an annual retreat in the Poconos outside of New York City in July. So that's coming up
Beautiful
soon.
campground.
It's going to be the 10th
Poconos
year.
are fantastic. I went there a lot as a kid.
Yeah, it's not a campground, actually. It's a retreat center. Yeah,
right.
it's beautiful.
It's a fancy campground.
Right.
It's a retreat center.
Yes. And so the work that we do there is really astounding and amazing, and I'd love to come back and talk more about that.
I would love that. Please do. I'd love for you to come do. I have a spiritual paranormal show on Tuesdays I do here. I just finished before you guys came on. I'd love for you to come do that too.
All right.
Be fantastic. If you missed those links, SheenaMetalExperience.com, LATalkRadio.com. Send me an email and I will gladly forward the links over to you. Also, I'm on social media everywhere at Sheena Metal, and my new movement of peace, love, kindness, and unity. It's called I Am Raising the Vibration of the Nation and the World. We're at IamRaisingTheVibration.com. It's the Sheena Metal Experience on LA Talk Radio. Quick break, and we're right back with you with much more radio fun and another wonderful guest right after this, right here on LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to the Sheena Metal Experience with your host, Sheena Metal, right here on LA Talk Radio.